we are where we are today because everyone works as a team here to get the coolest content that we can share, and it's all raw and real. We're not setting up stuff and making fake videos. I just go out there on the floor and I'm intrigued by what's going on. I take a video of it, post it. It's got 300,000 views in 4 hours.
You said it. It's raw and real. That's the key words here.
It's raw and real.
Hey, MMT followers. Welcome to another quick MMT chat. I'm Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology, and my guest today is Murphy Forsyth, who is with Zero Tolerance in Clinton Township, Michigan. Hello, Murphy. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. All right. So I understand your family. You are the owner of Zero Tolerance, Steve. You are his niece. But beyond that, I would love for you to start off telling our viewers a little bit about your background, whether that's mold making related, social media related, whatever it is. Tell me a little bit about your education and your work experience that led you to Zero Tolerance.
Sure. It's actually not mold making related or social media related. I graduated from high school in 2013. I am 29 years old. When I graduated high school, I had a very difficult time trying to decide what I wanted to do. So Steve and Jamie, my aunt and uncle, they had, started Zero Tolerance in Kansas. They moved back here. They had one small shop prior to hiring me. I told them that I was looking for some extra money or whatever, and they needed help in the office. I'm not a bills and payroll person. Like, this is not me. So for the time being, I did that. And then I was sitting there Steve's going to hear this, so this is going to be funny, but I was sitting there bored on my Instagram and Facebook scrolling. And I was like, you know what? They're paying me to sit here and I'm on my own stuff because I'm bored. I could turn this into something that could help my uncle's company. So, because I'm very familiar with social media and my age and all that, it was not difficult for me to make a Zero Tolerance Instagram page and Facebook page. I did it in one day. Okay. Well, the whole getting an audience and taking the videos and all that stuff, I had to really learn because I knew nothing. I didn't know what a Kurt Vise was compared to a core block. I didn't know what ejector pin was compared to a sleeve ejector pin or a blade or anything like that. Bare minimum, knew nothing. So I think like I had to delete it on our Instagram, but I think my first post, I went out there and I was all excited. And I took a picture of just the vise in the machine and thought it was something cool. It was a Kurt Vise. And I posted it, and Uncle Steven came up to me and he was like, so you thought that Kurt Vise was cool? He was like trying to figure it out. And he was like, yeah, well, this is what it actually does. So he didn't, make me feel stupid or like shoot me down or whatever. He got what I was trying to do and he showed me what it could do. So he helped me a lot learn what I should be recording, what is cool, what each machine does. I didn't know what electrode machine was. I didn't know what 5-axis was. I didn't know what EDM was. All of it. I didn't know the difference between any of it. And when you're putting that stuff out there, it's important to be knowledgeable so that you know what you're doing and what you're showing.
Yeah.
So it took me years to learn. With Steve and the guys in the shop, years of me being on the floor, being engaged and talking with the guys about what they're doing to be able to make the content that we do for our stuff.
I like that social media and your phone ended up being a tool to help educate you on what Zero Tolerance does, what mold making is. I think that's brilliant and actually could be a little training tidbit for other shops that have next generation people coming in or high school students coming in just touring. Like, get your phone out and get behind that camera, which kind of, I don't know, eases it a little bit for that person, and just use that camera to show people and then ask questions. So when you first had the idea at the desk, when you were bored, what was the process of getting Steve and Jamie on board to say, go ahead, do this?
I did it. I didn't ask them. I
Oh,
just
okay.
did it, and they were totally on board. So they're really good with accepting or taking other people's ideas and making it into something that could benefit the company and the other people that work here. So they were all about it from day one. And once Steve saw like the interest that I had in what I had been showing him on social media, he was like, "Oh, like this is a tool. Like this can market for my company." And he had no marketing until
Yeah.
that point, and he was very small. So yeah, we started. That's how it started. I was super bored, and I continued to learn, and with Steve's help and the other guys' help, um, we are where we are today because everyone works as a team here to get the coolest content that we can share, and it's all raw and real. We're not setting up stuff and making fake videos. I just go
Yeah.
out there on the floor and I'm intrigued by what's going on. I take a video of it, post it. It's got 300,000 views in
Yep.
4 hours.
You said it. It's
So
raw and real. That's the key
it's
words
raw and
here.
real,
Now let
and
me ask, go ahead.
I'm not trying to sell Steve or the shop. The whole thing that I've wanted to do is just show what this trade is and what we're doing. That's it. I just wanted to show it. And people like to see it.
Yep.
It's there are more people in the industry on social media than I would have ever thought. Millions and millions of people in this industry, machining industries, aerospace, mold making, all those different things, um, they're on there, and it's a huge thing. If I had to tell another small shop or look at a shop where Steve back then, 7 years ago when I started for him, I would tell them to find somebody or to look into doing that for themselves.
Yeah.
Because maybe some people don't think it's worth it, or if they're crazy busy and they can't find somebody to do it, or they don't know how to do it, talk to people and figure it out. It could really benefit you.
Okay.
There's resources and avenues and people like me, or people like you and Steve you can talk
Yep.
to, and it really does make a difference at our shop.
So let me ask you this. What were your impressions of, well, I'll say mold making specifically, and what zero tolerance does? Before you even got to zero tolerance, did you have a perception of manufacturing mold making, and how has that changed up until today?
So prior to working there, I didn't even go to the shop and see the shop before I agreed to work there for them part time during that winter. When I got there, I had no idea what my uncle did. I didn't know what he was doing. I was just doing bills and payroll. I was looking for money and I was looking for a job, and I was going to I'll do whatever anybody wants me to do. I can learn it. I can do it. I'll do it. So, and they know that. So they knew that I was on board, but I had, if somebody said, "What does your uncle do for a living?" I would have said, "I don't know." And he's my uncle and he owns
Yep.
this company. So before that, no knowledge until I even walked into that door. Months after I walked in the door, learning how intricate and in depth this trade is, mold making, it's insane. The stuff that you do to make a plastic cap is crazy.
Yeah, it's like,
Okay,
yep.
mind blowing. I try to tell all the students that come here and stuff, I'm like, hey, your little phone case is not easy to make, or your little pen over there is not easy to make. So from where I am today, from where I started, I'm actually running the entire injection molding department here now as well.
I did
So
not know that.
Steve, yes, that is, I would probably say 60% molding, 40% marketing at this point. It's very kind of head to head, wearing a lot of hats, trying to get everything done. But the good thing is the marketing started off, taking a little amount of my time, and now it's very, very popular. There's stuff, but we're bigger. We've got magazine tools back there, all kinds of really cool things that I want to capture. And I'm also processing 2 injection molding machines and managing 5 part-time workers and learning to do injection molding because I had no idea, obviously.
Wow.
So how this happened was, um, at the old shop, Steve had no injection molding machines, but he's always made molds. So he was a tool shop strictly.
Yep.
He wanted to get into the molding, but he never had the time himself to do it while managing zero tolerance, or to find somebody who he could have dedicate their time to build that part of his company. So when they needed help, I started going out into the back of the shop, and Dennis was teaching me how to grind pins and stuff like that. And they started to figure out that I could do stuff. That I could do stuff.
Yep.
And Steve, I remember the day that Steve came in my office and he looked at me and he said, "Would you be interested in becoming a mold processing technician if I bought this machine?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Sure, well, let's do it." So a couple months go by and the machine arrives. And I remember first day of training, Dan Bishop from Millicron comes out and we're sitting there and all we're doing is setting the mold in the press. Okay. And I see them with the crane, we put it in there, and I couldn't wrap my head around how they were even clamping the mold into the press. Second day of training, longest day of my life. So much information, so much cool stuff on these machines. I've never operated a machine like that ever. Okay. This is crazy. I don't know anything. I was like, I can't do it. I said it. I said, I can't do it. And I kept at it. Me and Steve kept at it. I did a lot of training. I went to both processing Millicron classes in Batavia, Ohio at their plant. I've done online training. I've gone to multiple different locations and done tryouts with different people and learned from them. I've also done a ton of research on my own, and doing the tryouts here, I learned something new every single time. And my confidence level from that day is amazing. It's like the scientific molding and all of that. It's very, people think that you just squirt plastic into a hole and you make a part. I know that the mold side of it is super intricate, but not a lot of people understand the processing part of it as well. You have a good tool builder and you have a good processor.
That's right.
It's perfect. And processing tools and such intricate tools that zero tolerance makes, with tight tolerances, very small details, processing is very important, and I take pride in that for sure. And I want to continue learning the processing part of it, because it's almost like every time you do a tryout, you learn. Every time.
And learning that helps you make better tools, right?
Exactly.
They're so interconnected.
Yes, and that's what Steve and the guys have been saying. So let's say I have, a stuck part, or I'm having some gas in some areas, or, I'm having a problem with a core pull with the cylinder or whatever. The guys are able to come back there, especially the designer, and look at stuff and be like, oh, we could have maybe done this. Or, yeah, I see how this is hanging up in there. Why don't we polish this part so it doesn't hold on here? It all like goes together, and it makes us both a stronger part of the company.
Absolutely.
So, and Steve agrees, and he sees a big part of it now, because he's seen some of the struggles we've had on a press. If something's not coming out right, or the slide was causing some flash or whatever, they forward think now, because they've seen these things in action, and they're able to make adjustments in their design or their manufacturing process to, make it a better process overall. And it's been great.
You are, from way back when to now, you are a very well-rounded person, very valuable employee. And I think that's kudos, not just to you, but to the culture that Steve and Jamie and the team have created, that you feel comfortable learning and taking on. Like it's wonderful to hear that growth of somebody within the company. I think that's fantastic. So back to the social media aspect. So now that I know it's kind of 60-40, when it comes to that aspect of the company and what you do, can you talk a little bit about the strategy? Like, do you actually have a formal social media strategy that you follow, and maybe someday we'll have to pass on to somebody else?
That is something that I actually recently talked with Steve about, is, one day we might have to have a camera crew. Like, I do all the editing, the videos, with Steve, and all the stuff on Instagram, the reels. the LinkedIn stuff, all of it. It's all of it. And I don't have a strategy.
Okay.
When I see cool things going on out there that is cool, like there's an electrode right now in our Makino F5 that has the smallest details on it I've ever seen. It's amazing. It's like I already know that that is cool. That is hard to do. And from my experience of seeing other people on social media, I can learn like, okay, this is like a super intricate electrode. Like compared to some of the other things that I've seen, you learn from other people too.
You know what? You're documenting their success, really.
Yeah,
You're putting it out
yeah.
there to celebrate it. So, all right, are you on all the platforms? Talk to me about the platforms that you use and why. And then I want to get a little bit into if this is even something you do, like almost like metrics. Like, are you taking time to figure out what is actually working on those platforms to then make sure you're providing that kind of content? So, platforms and then metrics.
Okay, so the platforms we use right now is LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. We did have a Twitter when I first started, and I didn't get a lot of traction from that, so I didn't continue. We have looked into TikTok, and we might be doing a TikTok. Um, if that doesn't get banned, I don't know what's going on with that.
Exactly.
But we get a lot of traction from our Instagram mainly, but
Hmm.
Steve has a lot of um, colleagues and connections and people within the industry on LinkedIn that see his stuff from all over the world. So I would say I kind of use Facebook more as a reference, like our hours, here are some posts, this is what we can do, make it look professional as a reference page. There's not a lot of interaction on Facebook. There are some, we get direct messages and comments, and we ask people to share. We share the practical machinist videos or anything
Mm-hmm.
cool. But that's more as a reference for me. The Instagram is very engaging. We are flooded with DMs all the time. It's like I have to sit Steve down and say, okay, don't move for the next 20 minutes. We have 30 questions we have to answer. So
Wow.
sometimes it gets like that where I have to like corner him in my office and say, we need to answer this, and then
That's
you're free.
wonderful
Yes.
that you're
So we try,
responding.
we have to. You want to. You want you that's we're putting this stuff out there to help people, educate people, and to show off what we can do. And people are learning from us and they want to see it too. And if you don't respond to them, I feel like you're a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Or they
Why
won't
not?
come back. They won't come back.
Exactly.
Right. I love the engagement. It's very important.
The engagement's very important. And then, LinkedIn, a lot of engagement on there. He gets a lot of messages and new contacts on there. That's kind of his more professional communicative, like um that's what I kind of use the LinkedIn for. It's a great tool. I
Yep.
really like LinkedIn. Before I started his LinkedIn, I didn't know how beneficial it was.
Uh,
I knew Instagram was going to be very beneficial, but I didn't know LinkedIn was this great, and it is. So
I'm
I would
learning something
advise.
from you today because for me in my job on the editorial side, LinkedIn has been the most successful for me in terms of my
Okay,
network and the way the industry uses it. We're on Instagram, but not as much because I don't see it's very interesting. It's probably the type of content we're putting out there. We're not a shop, right? We're a trade
right,
media company, but we
yep,
don't get the engagement. And I don't see a lot of our readers on Instagram, but I
yep,
probably need to go back and revisit that because as time goes on and people discover cool things happening, they're gonna get on they're gonna get on
yep,
Instagram. So that's
right.
interesting that you're seeing that.
Yes, because our marketings, we're in the same field and we do similar things, but I'm showing one thing and you're showing another
Yep.
thing. Your topics, I could see being better on LinkedIn, so that makes sense to me. But to not try more on Instagram or to look at the analytics or your results on there, sometimes it's worth it, and it's you really got to kind of show the cool stuff. So let's say that you're going to release an article, you're going to want your cover photo to be something crazy cool to get
Yep.
people interested.
Yep.
Or if you're doing interviews or whatever, you figure out like how to trick people. Sometimes you're not like tricking them, but like, here, I'm going to show you this crazy cool video. You need to get through the first 30 seconds first, and then this electrode's going to burn a
Yep.
crazy burn.
Yep.
So I try to do that a lot too.
What's your best performing post? And what was it?
I think it is from like when I first started, it was an electrode we were milling in our old mill, and it was for a Christmas tree. Christmas tree part, we call it. It's for an automotive part.
Okay.
If I had one in here, I would show you, but it's a little part like this, and it literally looks like a tiny Christmas tree. It's all these little details in it. And they were trying to figure out how to cut this electrode and how to do this burn. And Steve and our designer Mike came up with a really cool way to cut the electrode, and it went viral. Like overnight, it was viral, and it was like the simplest little video of how we were doing it, but it's almost like mesmerizing to watch.
Not only
So,
that, you are giving advice, like not, that is something newer that people still have, a certain generation has to get used to sharing that way, right?
yeah,
A lot of times they want to keep it close to their vest. So it sounds like you were demonstrating a solution to a problem other people might have. So of course
absolutely.
they're like,
People have
whoa.
people have messaged us and say, "Hey, where'd you get that cutter from? This is, this is a good idea. How do you program this?" All the time, especially with stuff like that. But that was probably our most viral one. We've had a couple, but like the other one from the other day, the slides with the two magazines,
Yep.
viral. There's I think there's like maybe 600,000 views on it from the other day. And it's being shared. I'm seeing it now. I see
That's
my
great.
videos being shared like randomly. I'm like, oh my God, I took that video and it's coming up.
It's
So I
working.
always, yeah,
So,
it's working.
so what do you think, if you could sum up or give a concrete example of how your work with the team has impacted like basically the bottom line or the business side of Zero? How has that helped?
The marketing has helped everybody. It is a team effort. It's not just me. It's not just Steve. I do a lot of it, but it's a team effort. And if the guys weren't doing the stuff on the floor, I would have nothing to record. So they're making the content too. It's not just me. And when you have a good staff and good people like who Steve has here working for him, it's very easy for us to all work together and to make magic. And that's basically what we're doing.
That's a great quote. You're making
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
Have you had feedback or new business? Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
The source has been some posts that you're sharing.
We have gotten some discounts on stuff, and everybody we've had salesmen at our door almost every day. People are wanting us to use their machines, their tools, their coolant, all kinds of stuff. And that's kind of pretty basic, but we have gotten multiple new customers, multiple jobs. There was one company that saw our post. It was for a gun grip on LinkedIn, actually. He sent us an RFQ and a purchase order like 3 days later.
Wow.
And never, no further conversation. So, and they were thrilled. So there's all kinds. There's EDM. It's not just mold. There's injection molding. That's my department. There's EDM stuff, wire EDM stuff, just 5-axis stuff. There's the whole 3D printing stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say 3D printing too.
Stuff, everything that we offer here, we get inquiries about from social media because we show it all.
That's awesome. All right. So last but not least, when you think about other small mold builders in particular, small mold manufacturers, what would be some simple steps or advice to help them get started with social media? Baby steps.
Baby steps would be to determine if you need help doing it or if you want to learn. So if, let's say that you have a tool shop of 4 guys, no one's familiar with Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, well, then maybe you can get an intern from Stevenson Made High School and have them come for 3 hours out of the day. They're going to know how to do it. You tell them what we're looking for, show them examples, show them zero tolerance, show them whoever else, and say, this is what we want to do. And then teach that person what happens in your shop. This is a lathe. This is what we're turning. So then when they're going out there and they see a guy on the lathe, they're like, oh, let's go take a lathing video of them turning this piece. They really have to because it's not you don't have to think about having the social medias. I got to pay this person a bunch of money to come in and just take pictures and videos all day. That's not true. You can get somebody, a student or a family member or somebody who can come in and make a big difference if you're willing to teach them and have them on board. And I think a student is an excellent avenue for something like this. We're really involved with Stevenson Made, the Manufacturing Academy in Sterling Heights, and that's who I get most of my part-time workers from in my molding department. And if I had a shop and I was too busy to do it myself, that is what I would do. I would get a student, they would come to school to work, I would teach them what goes on in the shop, show them what we would like as a result with social media and what we're trying to do, and that's what I would recommend.
Well said. That's a great way to end this, Murphy. Murphy,
Yeah,
you are great energy, wonderful conversation. We need more of people like you in this industry.
I appreciate it. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you so much for your time. I want to stay
it.
in touch. I
Okay.
think there's more things that we could talk about. We can dig a little deeper into particular things, but we'll
Okay.
save that for another time. So again,
Yeah,
thank you, Murphy.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And for everything mold making, visit moldmakingtechnology.com. Stay informed and stay inspired.